Hello, lovely, beautiful people. I'm gonna review my long-term orange Alpine 6 2017, which I brought it secondhand from a guy on eBay. Let's get into it. So this one is an MK1 Pro, which come with the Fox 36 fork and the Fox Float X Evolve. And this specs is started from 3,600 pounds with the upgrade. So basically it is the Hope brake. It's a Tech 3 E4 brake with the 180 Hope floating rotor. The original drivetrain is a Shimano SLX for the 11 speed, and it's 11 to 42 to cassette. And previous owner upgraded to the 1146 to cassette, and also the derailleur he upgraded to the XT1, although the shifter is still the SLX. And apart from the part for the finishing kits, like the stem is Hope and also the stem cap is Hope, but I changed it into the one that I brought from Duffy Bike Park because I have some history with Duffy Bike Park. It's my first proper bike park that I ever ridden in my life. And for the handlebar, it is a rental bar. The grip is a dead grip, I think. Dropper post is Axon Brand X, so pretty good. 125 millimeter travel with the core saddle, core rim, and I don't know about the hub, but you can take a look on Orange website because they have archive for an older year of the bike, which is very good. So talk about each component deep down a little bit. For the Fox fork, it is a 36 performance, which is 170 millimeter travel, and with the Fit for damper. In terms of the damper, well, I would say the compression damping and also rebound is a bit too much for me, which I wish when it's fully open. I mean, in terms of compression, it could be a little bit less compression damping. I don't know why, but I think I can go with the light tuning, but I need to send it back to Fox and spend some money doing that. So I just have to make do with that for now. It's a bit annoying because it's a hashed feeling when you do the drop, or maybe you hit something really hard and the compression is a bit too much for me. And the reason that I know why there's so much compression damping, because I took the damper out and then I compressed it. Even on the open mode, it's still a certain amount of compression damping. Talking about rebound, again, I would say the rebound is too much, and it's not just me, it's so many riders out there. For example, even my good friend Darren's always have same problem like me, which is the rebound is too much, and basically he just used one click, or maybe he just fully opened it, and there's still like a lot of rebound out there. And that's also happened to me with this damper, because I take it out and do some tests. I mean, there you go, the damping is too much in terms of both rebound and compression dampings. It's a bit sucks when this comes to propping up the front wheel. If you want a bunny hop, you want a manual, that's a bit of something that slow down popping the front wheel motion a bit. I wish the rebound could be faster and both of compression, because it would be much better, but maybe it's a problem with the damper. Maybe because the oil is old, maybe. I don't know, maybe I change it. It might be better. Maybe I need a new tuning, the light tuning for lightweight rider. For your information, I am 63 kilogram. Anyway, so I'm, pretty much small, on the small spectrum of rider. And that's kind of problem for me. Alright, let's go with the drivetrain a bit. It's a 11-speed version. It's a SLX originally, but being upgraded in terms of rear derailleur and also the cassette to the XT1, which is 1146 tooth. For the crankset, the crank is rest face effect. I don't know if I pronounced the name correctly. It's got the Hope chainring 32 tooth, and I'm gonna change it to the 30 tooth. I think it may be a good opportunity to make it a little bit capable going uphill, so I will change that one later on. And as for the brake, Hope Tech 3 E4 brake is a 4-port caliper brake. Bleeding process is very straightforward. I would say it's much easier than the Shimano in terms of, for the Shimano, you need a funnel to do the bleeding. And this one, because you got the reservoir that you can put more in there and do the bleeding, it can be done, but not as good as when you have the full bleeding kit. So I recommend to have full bleeding kit for any brand of the brake that you have. That make things so much easier. You know, Hope's brake has just got so many adjustments. So it's got bite point adjustment, it's just got reach adjustment. Pretty nice. Nothing to complain. Apart that, but I think the spec of the brake rotor, which is a Hope brake rotor, a floating rotor, this one is a 180mm front and rear. I would say the front for 180 is a bit too small. I wish we could put like maybe 203mm there. It can produce more stopping power for my riding style and where I ride, like Licky Hills. It may sound that Licky Hill is just a small countryside park and maybe it's not that bad, but no. It's so gnarly and really steep, and I feel that sometimes, you know, the stopping power is not there, and I couldn't slow down as quick as I wished could slow down, and it's like I have to squeeze the brake lever a lot in order to slow me down. Alright, let's go to the tire. It's not quite related because you can change it anytime soon. But this bike, when I brought it secondhand from eBay, it was the Schwabe Dirty Dan and Schwabe Magic Mary. The Dirty Dan is definitely a mud tire, and it's just too much. The compound is so soft, no complaint, but it's just too much for riding in the condition that I'm riding. It's not that really wet, it's not really muddy, it's not like I'm not having the traction. So I took it off and then I put the Maxxis Minion DHR2. I put it on the front, which is not something most people do, but some people might have done it before. But it is okay. If I have time, I will swap them, put the Magic Mary up front, and then take the Minion on the back the way it's supposed to be. But for now, I'm happy with it. And in terms of the mud splashing, it's not that bad. Both tires are so good. It's got good self-mud cleaning. Really excellent, I would say. So I never actually have the problem with the mud accumulate on the tire. Maybe because the dirt at Licky Hill is quite loamy, I would say so. It's not that greasy that it gets stuck into the treads. For now, for me, I'm happy with the setup right now. Alright, now let's talk about the frame design. So this one is Alpine 6 2017. It's got a major update from the Alpine 160, which mainly the pivot point here. Because the old one, the pivot is here on the down tube of the frame, which basically make anti-rise number a bit lower, because when you take the line, you make the calculation. With the pivot point there in the Alpine 160, you have lower anti-rise, but effectively you also have slightly lower anti-squat. They change it into this position, which is somewhere a little bit above the chainring between the seat tube and the down tube. It's like a holy grail of the position for single pivot bike in terms of the pivot point. With this position and with my calculation, I got an anti-rise number of 106%, and also for the anti-squat it's 130%, which is very close to the number that Bike Radar made the calculation in their video for this bike. And for the pedaling efficiency, of course, when you have the anti-squat higher than 100%, let's say more than 110%, you're gonna have pedal bob, but it's not a pedal bob, the kind that squat you down, but high anti-squat number is causes the rear suspension to stiffen up. So basically, even pushing down, I could see when I go on a ride and I take a look to the pivot, to the shock, and I could see that when I pedal really hard, the swing arm actually extend. It's not retract in there. So the effect on riding in terms of like fire road section is okay. High anti-squat is good. but too high is not good because it extends your rear suspension. When you go the technical uphill, you get the problem when like you try to hop on the root and you try to pedal up, because your suspension is stiffened up, it's actually even extend. So that make the traction is quite poor. That's what I found. When I go to the root section, I could feel that this bike is a little bit stiff and like it's more like a hardtail when you climb up. So very efficient, but kind of poor traction, that I would say so. In comparison to my previous bike, the Broadman FS Pro, that one has got really poor anti-squat. It's like 80% if I'm not wrong, maybe less. And what happened with that bike is that when I pedal really hard, the suspension is retract, so it went into travel. In effect, it's not very efficient. But when I go technical uphill, like a very rooty section on the trail, I could feel that there's so much traction, I could go up. And when it's come to anti-rise, so this one is 100%. So in theory, when you're going down and you do the brake on the rear brake, your rear suspension gonna stop rising and it will be the position will be very composed. The rear suspension is less active. So when you brake, this thing kind of stiffen up. But again, you know, if you don't mind this kind of characteristics, so it's fine. In comparison to my Broadmans, the anti-rise is quite low. It's like 80% at zero travel, and about at 50% travel is roughly about 60% each. That bike, actually the suspension is pretty active in comparison to this bike. Alright, let's go to a little bit of geometry. So this one is 16-inch seat tube, so the small frame. Reach is 423. For the head angle is 64.5. The seat tube angle is 74 degrees, and the wheelbase is 119. And I just measured it from this axle to that axle, and it's actually spot on, 119 centimeter. Very good. And the seat stay length from here to there effectively is 430, quite short. Not very short, but it's like pretty much normal number. For the BB height, 342 millimeter, which is almost 5 centimeter taller than my Clockwork Evo. In terms of going on the trail, I never have the pedal strike, even I'm going into the rut. A bit, getting back to the suspension a bit, maybe someone want to know. So I measured this axle to the pivot and the pivot point to the shock mount, and I made a little bit of simple calculation, and I got the leverage ratio of 2.47. So it just in case you want to know, and because it's a single pivot, it's an old school die-hard single pivot, so the leverage ratio doesn't change much. It changed a little bit because of the, you know, when you calculate the trigonometry, blah blah blah. Yes, but it's approximately, let's say 2.5. Not too bad, but because it's single pivot, so leverage ratio is quite linear. The air shock is a better choice, so you can have the ramp up where you couldn't have with the traditional coil spring. Yeah, again, if you have single pivot like this, you might want to consider about the bottom out resistance. This one is the original setting from Fox, and when you hit the 4-digit number on, you can find it available on the shop. So this one is a setting from Orange. So Orange kind of ordered the shock and the fork from Fox with their, you know, designated tuning. So basically they've already put a 0.9 volume spacer. I don't know what is volume 0.9 mean. It may be cubic inch, maybe. Just for your information, there is one volume spacer. I don't know what the volume it is. So one volume spacer in there, and so far I haven't been able to use more than 80%, despite of I trying quite a big drop. So it's like 4-foot drop approximately, give or take. I still have plenty of available travel for my both front and rear suspension. I guess that the in terms of the bottom resistance is pretty good. Alright, I hope you enjoy the review, and I hope that you find this one a bit informative for someone who's gonna buy orange bike with, you know, old school single pivots. As always, thanks for watching, and I see you next time on the trail.